And just a few months ago, President Tinubu met with state governors and resolved kicked action to facilitate the process of the creation of state police. So tonight, let's get the perspective of Tayo Awokoya, a public affairs analyst and is also an arts dealer. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on Politics Tonight. So, modern-day policing in Nigeria, are we getting it right?
Well, we have been talking about this thing for the past 20 years or more. And I believe there's a need for a regional approach. Okay. The governors have too much powers at the moment. So we need to have a regional approach of recruiting, payment, and all of that. What you have at the moment is you have the Inspector General of Police and the Police Service Commission. They have been fighting for the past 2, 3, 4 years with regards to recruitment, and nothing has happened. So you have a population of 200 million, and you just have probably 200,000 or 300,000 policemen. Wow. And in the UK, where I live, there are about 34 police units, and it's a population of 61 million. So look at the comparison.
But really, what is your idea of a standard police force?
Standard in what sense, when you say standard?
In all ramification. I mean, if we're to look at what a police unit, a police operation should look like, what's the standard anywhere in the world? Well,
it's supposed to be recruitment-wise. I mean, we're supposed to have people who are graduates, people who are, people who are aware of what is going on. I'm not sure if we have an IT unit for the police in Nigeria at the moment. And that's one area that... And the thing I keep on saying is that I've been on this program once. The police should stay amidst the people, not outside the people. You don't need to have barracks, separate barracks. It doesn't help matters. If the policeman lives with the people, his children will behave well, and so will he. And it's all about pay, and and there are so many things to. There's so many problems.
There's been trust deficit between the Nigeria police and the people.
Definitely.
All right, so, I mean, the Nigeria police has existed for over a century, and there have been calls for reforms when it comes to operations, welfare, and employment. What kind of reforms do you think we need at the moment?
What we have at the moment is an imperial police force, one inherited from the colonial times. You have policemen who arrest criminals and crooks and come out to display them. Where is that done? That's not done anywhere. You must try a person almost immediately. If you don't try them, send them to where they can be remanded and then tried. Not that you bring them publicly and then you don't hear anything after the display. Nothing happens. So the courts are clogged, the system is clogged, everything is...
So do we have what it takes to do that?
We have the resources, but we're not managing them right. That's the thing.
How do you mean?
First of all, I mean, the governors have too much powers. The local... If we want to... We have had democracy for a long time, since 1999. If we want to go to the second stage of it, the local governments need to come to the fore. It's not supposed to be the governors. If you look at what the governors are doing, all the governors, if they're not building flyovers, they're building cargo airports that lead to nowhere. If you want to have a cargo airport, you must have cargo that you want to transport. And somebody needs to put on the lights. We don't have any electricity. We have had no telephone. We have had telephones in the last 20, 30 years or something. Now, is it going to take us another 50 years to get electricity? You know what I mean? So we need to sort out this problem. These are basic problems.
We've had several reforms in the last 1 year. Why do you think it's been hard implementing these reforms?
A lot of reforms are at the top. You have maybe 10 or 15 or 20 AIGs and DIGs. You're not talking to the people on the road. The standard inspector, the man who is doing the dirty job. Nobody's. And then if you look at the police today, the mental health issue is creeping up, and everybody's ignoring that. You have to look at all of those things. It's the way the police are looked after that they will look after the people. If they're not looked after, then that's it. So all we're just talking. We're not moving. The needle is not moving, and we have a civil service that is bloated. That's not doing anything.
So I think that's the reason this conversation around the creation of state police has come up again. I mean, with President Bola Tinubu taking the lead. But really, do you agree with the Senate leader, that's Akwemi Bamdele, who recently said recruiting more officers will not solve the various problems we have at the moment? And for him, he says state police is the way to go. So I'm asking, why do we really need state police? Do we really need it? Are we mature? Are we ripe enough?
Of course we are ripe enough. We keep on saying, I mean, if you have police in a particular area, you have to first of all have the language. You have to understand the language of that locality. You have to know the terrain. You can't bring somebody from Sokoto to come and govern what is in Lagos or look after. He's going to get lost for the first 20 weeks or more months. You know, so you need people who are, I mean, look at, take for example, what's it called, the ODUA, not the OPC, not the OPC, the other one, the one in the region. It's looking, there would have been more chaos if it wasn't there at the moment. Yes, there would have been more chaos if it wasn't existent, you know.
So is that what we should be looking at?
Yes.
The idea of Amotekun, civilian JTF and the likes, instead of the creation of state police?
No, we definitely need a state police, but it should be regional in approach, in terms of recruitment, in terms of pay, so that no governor will have any powers to do anything. So
do you not think, I mean, regional policing is different from state police?
It's the same thing.
How is the same
It's the same thing.
I've spoken with former IGP Michael Okiri on this program, who says state police cannot work.
Why can't it work?
We have to go back to regional policing.
Yes, same thing.
I mean, for him, it's not the same thing.
State police and regional police are just misnomers. I mean, that's the title. What you want is policing, isn't it? And like I said, if the thing is cuts across regions, because the governors have too much powers. They have so much money.
Like there's nothing we can do about that.
No, how can you say there's nothing you can do? Of course they can do a lot.
So what can we do about this? Because, I mean, it's been, for over a century we've been saying the governors are too powerful.
What is happening is the governors are cherry-picking the pronouncements of the courts. They are only listening to cases that favor them. They're not listening to cases that favor...
Who do we blame for that?
No, it's the entire system. It's entire... People, it's just like sitting in a bus that's taking you from Ibadan. You get inside the bus from Ibadan to Lagos, and you close... Somebody's listening, one of the young people are listening to music, the old people are sleeping. Of course, they are going to end in the ditch if you don't shut out the driver. You need to caution the driver. You get the point? So the people need to be proactive. This is a long battle of bringing the local authority to the fore of your society instead of the local governors. What we can do is reduce the powers of the governors, increase that of the local governments. And when you want to put people in local authority, they must be people who have degrees like ICANN, lawyers, people who will defend their certificates, not people who are Gbero and all that stuff who, take 20 naira and sell everything, that kind of thing.
So, I mean, let's be practical here. When you say we need to reduce the powers of the governor, who will do that? Who should be in charge of doing that?
The Constituent Assembly, of course. I mean, the Assembly itself.
The National Assembly, where state governors now go to retire?
Well, what you have, look at the amendments. I mean, 150 million, if you amortize that, that's at least 30 million plus 50 million. People are earning 80 million a year. How can you have a public sector that is earning more than the private sector and you want to bake cake? You can't do anything. We need industry. And the other thing, the most annoying thing is discussing, public wages and all that sort of minimum wage publicly. No, you are fueling inflation. And it should be done regionally, sector to sector. The man in Sokoto doesn't need as much as the man in Lagos. And this is it's not going to happen. No. You just have the unions collecting their own thing and saying, oh, they want to this. It's not going to happen. It's just going forward and
back. We're deviated a bit, but NLC is not happy with that approach. Because, on Sunday, we were talking on journalist hangouts. There was a particular story we handled where state governors are now saying that it's important for them to be in charge of this negotiation of minimum wage. Because, what Zamfara States receives as FARC from federal government is different from what Lagos State receives.
Before I forget, let me say one thing that I noticed that is going on very, very badly. One person I want to point out is Oshiomhole. I think he's bad news to the system. He was a senator, or he's a senator. He was in charge of labor. You have banks that are recruiting people on contract basis only. Your money is not safe. My money is not safe. In any system, after you have spent 18 months or 9 months on the job, you should be permanent. But you have all these banks recruiting people on temporary positions. So that is also part of the problems that the labor is supposed to solving. You cannot give everybody how much they want. If you make the minimum 25 and you don't declare it, and then if people go into the pockets of that states and negotiate their allowances on top of it, we'll get somewhere.
Right, so before we move on, we need to be very careful with our utterances. Earlier you made a statement that you cannot make on this platform.
Okay.
All right, so when you hear IGPs, former IGPs, former AIGs, and the current IGP, Kade Wetokun, say that state police cannot work, what do you think they're afraid of, or what do you think is the major concern?
Well, you keep having people of the force wanting to maintain force for themselves alone. How can you do the same thing over 60 years, say 5 years, and get a different result? It's mentalness. You must change. You must do something. You must experiment it. And if you're expecting, you start adjusting along as we go along.
So you think they're afraid of this decentralization
of course.
of powers? They're afraid of their influence?
That's what it's about.
Or you think there is something they know that we cannot see? Or
like what do they know that everybody else doesn't know? I mean, it's nothing new. If you go to countries like the US, even the universities have their own police, not to talk of the local authority.
But can we afford it as a nation?
For goodness sake, we have too much money. And they keep on saying states are not viable. The states are not viable because they have minerals under them that they can't tap. It's the federal government that is doing it. The population of the federal government is probably 5 million. You have the army, the police, the civil service, and maybe a few other people. That's all. And they have about 52% of the budget, whereas everybody else is looking at 49. So
so because we're talking about state governors, in the last 1 year, how do you complement or how do you assess the complementary roles state governors are supposed to be playing?
Playing for what? With regard to state police or what?
No. With regards to helping the federal government achieve its vision and all of that, how do you assess the complementary roles state governors are supposed to be playing?
I think it's playing to the gallery, isn't it? Somebody dies and then they put their clothes and they go and apologize and stuff like that. It's all playing to the gallery. If you look at the amount of money these guys are sitting on, it's a lot of money. I'll give you a good example. In Lagos State, another point. Lagos has beautiful speeches, beautiful budgets. There are no toilets. How many toilets can you count in Lagos State, apart from the one at Ojota? And you want tourism. You know, all those small things matter. Toilets that people can use. You understand what I'm trying to say? In Lagos State itself, everything on the curbs, like people who are selling food or where they work with, belong to the local authority. You get? And then the rest of the money coming from Abuja goes to the governor. What's that all about? Do you see what I'm saying? What I'm saying? Every year, nobody looks after the drainages. They don't clear the drainages. Then the next year they start crying about flood. There must be, it's a continuum. This morning on my road, I was clearing the drainage so that the water doesn't come into the house. Well, that is the duty of the local authority. And the next thing they come with tenement rate and stuff like that. All they're doing is collecting money. They are not telling us what the service they're rendering. What are the services you get? Apart from a policeman slapping you or locking you up, what services do you get from, if you come out of the Murtala Mohammed Airport, there hardly any lights. When Fashola was there were lights. That has been discontinued.
All right, so let's go back to this matter of state police.
Yes.
Because there seems not to be a consensus on this matter. When the president had the discussion with the state governors, 16 state governors have gotten back to the president. 20 state governors are still, we don't
hesitating.
know where they stand at the moment. So when people say we're not ripe, what do you think is...
But are they putting the people's lives, as priority, or their own pockets, or their own selfish interest? It's about the people, first of all, isn't it? Not about the you get. It's got nothing to do with whether it is right or left. Let us have this thing almost immediately.
All right, Mr. Awokoya, let's go on a break. And when we come back, we will continue this discussion. You're watching Politics Tonight, everyone. We'll take a break and I'll be right back. Please stay with us. Tonight, everyone. Tonight, we're discussing internal security with focus on the creation of state police. And my guest tonight is Tayo Awokoya, a public affairs analyst. Mr. Awokoya, thank you so much for staying with us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
There are fears state police will be abused by state governors. But do you agree with those who have said, that should be the least of our worries? Because there are so many benefits inherent in having state police than this concern of being abused by state governors.
Look at what happened, I think today or yesterday in Maiduguri about the bombing. The army will never detect that. It's the police, you need to sort that out. If the police amidst the people, they can pick up information as to what is going on. And the other thing I need to say, which is very, very important about security spending, you are defending people who are hungry. What is all that about? You want to give the people the food, or you want to spend it on just guns, and then the people are hungry and they are dying, walking, you know what I mean? So a few days ago, one of them was talking about the amount of helicopters and planes and all that to find internal security. What's all about? You need to look after the people, and you have to do that through the local authorities. If I have a problem, if I live in Apapa, am I going to solve the problem by going to Ikeja, where the headquarters of Lagos State is, or solve the problem in Apapa itself? You see.
But if this huge concern is there, that's state governors abusing this process. How do we insulate the police from abuse?
Like I've said, when we do get that thing, the governors are not going to be in charge of the police. They're not going to be in charge of their recruitment. They're not going to be in charge of promotion. They're not going to be in charge of pay. It is going to be a body set up on its own. That is the way forward. You cannot give the governors, with their security vote and everything they have, police powers again. I mean, for goodness sake, that's tantamount to suicide. Even political suicide for they themselves. You get the point? So we need to bring the local governments to the fore, and we need to reduce the powers of the local governors. And we also need to ensure that the police are not in the hands of the governors.
So, I mean, if that's what you're advocating for, is that state police?
It is state police, but it's operated on a regional basis. They can pay salaries that way better. You know what I mean? Because they can recruit across board, and they can do, it's better that way. It's economies of scale. It's straightforward.
But those have also said this should be optional for states who can afford it.
Of course, agreed. Possibly, yes. Why not? Why not?
Well, okay,
but we are playing hypocrisy. Let me tell you the funny thing. We call it federal government. It's not federal. It's central. All the money is in the hands of they have the governors. I mean, the federal government giving money to people it likes and stuff like that. There is nothing federal about what we are running at the moment. It's a central government. And until you have the states being able to, take the resources under them and become viable, then we're not, what I mean? We're playing, it's a game of hypocrisy. It's simple. Straightforward.
I don't agree.
Can you just go back on that question again, because the pen parts I have not answered.
Which are the questions?
The question you just asked now, the last one.
Okay, there are those who are saying this should be optional for states who can afford it.
No, but when you say optionals, in the north, they already have a similar. They have state police, isn't it? They're not calling it state police. It's supposed to be a religious police.
But they do not carry guns.
Even if they don't carry guns, they destroy alcohol and all that stuff. Never mind that they claim from the VAT that is produced in the south. So you say all these contradictions are there. And what is going on to me is you find that certain parts of the government, of the system, are taking people's land and waiting, saying that the state police is not ready. Is it when they have taken all the land that you now say we can now use state police or what? You know what I mean? It's in any system that is federal, you have push and pull, forces. And that's what is going on. So we need to have this state police almost immediately. That in the Maiduguri will not have happened if there's a state police there, because they will speak the language, the people, they pick up language. The army can't see anybody. And it's going to take them forever. And I will say it again, you don't defend people who are hungry. They themselves will be a threat to the system. You need to give people food, and it's the local governments that can do that. You can walk into a local government, but you can't walk into the state governor's office to ask for what? What's he going to ask? You're not even going to go past the security. You get my point? But it's a local government. The man lives in your neighborhood. He's going to pass by you. On your way to school, on your way to work, you are passing by the secretariat. You can stop there. You haven't given me this, you haven't given me that. It's straightforward.
So, if we eventually go ahead with state policing, do you worry about collaboration, intelligence sharing between state and federal police?
It's already happening. It's already happening, isn't it? Amotekun is giving news to the federal police, isn't it, at some point? The only thing that is happening is that, okay, if Amotekun sometimes gives them, you then find the same central government or releasing those people, either unprosecuted and all. So the states also need to have, or regions need to have their own powers to imprison.
But how do we strengthen this collaboration? Because in the last one year or thereabout, you've had army chiefs complaining of lack of intelligence or lack of intelligence sharing among the sister agencies.
No, that has always been there. It's an encouragement. But are the army supposed to be on our roads, on our streets? In today's Nigeria,
that's what we have.
The army are in about 30 states.
Reality.
No, but we can walk away from it. The politician, General Obasanjo gave the North Boko Haram. Gave them the Sharia law. What more do they want? Nobody has sat down to find. It's basically about hunger. If you go into those Boko Haram territories, Boko Haram is offering them money and stuff like that. Who is offering the poor anything in those local authorities? You get my point? Nobody is.
But really, my question is, how do we strengthen this synergy?
The synergy.
Yes.
It's about cooperation. It's about putting things in place that will make them share resources and all of that. Okay, you have NIN and all that stuff. When they were doing kidnapping under Buhari, what happened to the use of NIN? These people call people and ask for ransom. What happens? Are you saying you can't trace their numbers? You know what I mean? It's a joke.
Right. So, above all, what exactly are we not getting right in this fight against insecurity?
It's hypocrisy. You know, that's what it's all about.
I mean, when you say hypocrisy, no one would really understand what you mean by hypocrisy. Is it about us not having enough manpower and technology to secure Nigeria? Is it about funding? What exactly?
Of course, you don't have enough power, but you need to have people who work from the states or within local, who know the terrain, who can speak the language, who can pick up information. You need all of that. Have you been to any of the police barracks? Have you seen the eyesore there? And you want that kind of man to talk to you politely on the road? It's not going to happen. It's a joke. You get that's the hypocrisy of it. You get.
I asked the question because there are those who have talked about budgetary allocation. I mean, there's so much underfunding when it comes to welfare of the police, and there are those also advocating that there is a separate budget for the police, other than what we have with the defense budget. Do you agree with that?
Why is the defense budget higher than that of the police? Are we fighting an external enemy or an internal enemy? You know, and then you have the hypocrisy of porous borders in the north. People coming in from different countries who know that there's kidnapped money to be made in Nigeria. So you get the point. Let us call a spade a spade. You want to fight this security, you know. Let's do things as they are, you know, and let's stop calling Nigeria a federal government. It's a central government. If it's in charge of, the president has got to the forefront after so many years. And they're still thinking of, nobody's even generating enough electricity, you know. All those things are there.
All right, sadly, we have 30 minutes for this conversation, but I'm sure we'll continue some other time. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I've been speaking with Tayo Awokoya, a public affairs analyst and an art dealer. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you very much for watching, everyone. That's our package tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Good night, everyone.